Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for Tuesday, February 13th, 2018. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. The previous session here, we got a follow through to the upside back to the FOMC key level from December 13th. That's 26.69 as a nice little bounce off these recent lows to get back to that level. And we could even continue higher into the 27.0375 level, which is the midpoint of the key range. Overall, this market continues to be rather bearish in the short term here, and that could lead to at least another retest of these lows at some point down the road. But you can see this key pivot here and this recent push here. That could give us a short-term key range to work off of here, and we could continue to see some development in this lower area of the range before we see resolution. So today we have an inside day narrow range so far of about 23 points compared to what we've seen on average. That's 28% of ADR over the last 10 sessions. We could continue to see quiet upside behavior. Any failure to hold basically yesterday's low could open up a return back toward lows overall. But right now, keeping inside this range is likely how this thing's going to proceed here until we see resolution one way or the other. If you look at the NQ, very similar again. Like the ES, we're probably not done testing these lows. We could see another test at some point. We bounced off of this LVN below the key range low, and that's led to a nice push back up. The 8-period moving average here has been very, very clear in terms of resistance or support. Right now, forming very clear resistance at this time. Very similar to the ES, we could be on the way up to test the midpoint of this key range at 66.53s. But overall, we could remain within this portion of the range here, building out before we see major resolution one way or the other. Let's take a look at gold futures. Now, the previous session, we were looking at the potential for a failed new high. That was a really good, solid potential there, and then price gave up those 1325s. That was the key level to watch there. 1325 was the zone where we were seeing rejection. Price came back above it and was testing around that area and basically closed right at 1325s. And that is not the best case scenario. We see another push higher still, and again, this is something to keep in mind here, because overall this thing has stayed within this range between 1305s and 1365s, and that's been the range that we've seen a lot of action in right here. And the initial idea was that we would likely come back up, but we were seeing extreme rejections off the previous highs. And right now, it looks like we could be headed right back up yet again. So again, gold is in one of those times right now where it's definitely developing up here. It's not really, in a hurry to go from one price to the next right now. We are seeing still kind of a lower high channel developing. So there is still the potential for this thing to perhaps drop down into those 1300s. But right now, got to be careful about how this thing proceeds. This FOMC key level 1330 has been a very clear pivot in the charts, so any failure to get back above it could start this thing back down, or finding acceptance above this level could get this thing back up. So continue to watch 1330 as the key pivot in this instance. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. XBT, you can see here very narrow range. This is what I like about our proprietary tools here. That's the PivotBoss Advanced ADR right there. Right here you can see that we have very narrow ranges on a one-day basis. We can switch this over here, and I can bring this up to a 5-day average here. And once you bring it up to a 5-day average, you can see here that over the last 5 sessions we've gotten very, very narrow. The last time that happened was right here when things were narrow, and that led to expansion. You can see the ebb and flow of that volatility. Well, right now we're at the very bottom of that cycle, where the last 5 days have given us very narrow ranges. We could be looking at significant expansion here very soon. Pushing up through 9,000 could give us a return as high as 12,000. But you can see this LVN here. As I mentioned before, if we can't get back above 12K, there could be another serious turnaround back to the downside. So again, the flow has been to the downside. You can see the moving average is all bearish. So if there's any failure to really reclaim prices above 10K, there could be another big move down coming. So again, we're coiling up for the next big volatility move. We could be seeing something soon, so keep an eye on Bitcoin. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how these play out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck and trade well.